Welcome to Darshan America, folks. We come to you from Washington, D.C. My name is Ramesh
And I'm Aastha Verma.
I was very impressed with the president's speech. The president spoke so eloquently and so humanitarianly about Libya, and he says, you know what? Libyan people were being butchered by Gaddafi, so we had to take the action. But we took the action on behalf of NATO, and soon as this thing comes down, they're going to hand it back to NATO.
Yes, except we all know that even though NATO is in the front seat of this, it's the U.S. behind NATO. That's the emphasis behind every action that NATO has taken here. So I think it's unfair to say that, America's not really involved. We're involved. I mean, this would be the elephant hiding behind the mouse if we were to say we're not really involved in this matter. I think the president had to do what he had to do, which was make the country understand why we went in, and do it on these lofty humanitarian principles, which his speech is very lofty, and it needed to be, because people needed to be
we are Americans, that's what we do.
Exactly. He wanted to connect people on this idea, the principle behind what we were going in to do. Now, the criticism, he's short on substance, and everybody wants to know, okay, how is this effort going to end?
Yes. I wish this war was like building a building. Folks, you don't go straight to building a building. You need to design it. It needs to make sure that you have the power supply. You have everything in place before you start building the building. War should be very similar. All pieces should be in place. But I guess sometimes it's not.
We can't call this one a war quite yet, because I know that that's a very sensitive word. And I don't think the American public wants another war on its hands.
We are war fatigued.
Well, we are. We are war fatigued. We've now seen two efforts that have taken longer than we thought. Iraq took longer than we thought. Afghanistan took longer than we thought. They were both more expensive than we thought. We have plenty of problems here at home. I don't think the American public wants to engage in another war. They want to be in and out quickly. But the question we all have is, how are we going to make sure that is the case? I think we are going to have to prepare ourselves for this to take longer than, let's say, the Egypt crisis, which was over and done with, and really there was not much to speak of afterwards. The country seems to be patching itself back. Here, it's much, much more uncertain.
One of the most important things the president said was that in this whole area is right now unstable. A lot of these things are going to pop up and down, and you don't know what your action is going to be. So he wants to stay loose, and he wants to consult with the Congress. But you know what? We need to do what the engineers do. First design before you build.
I would agree with that. I think that if planning were to help us get in and out quicker, then we should do as much of it as we can. The problem is, when a situation like this happens, it's sudden. And you have to use your prior intelligence and apply it to try to plan around what's happening. I think the president is in a tough spot no matter what. If he's too decisive too quickly, people will say he's eager and aggressive. If he holds back and he assesses the situation, people will say that he didn't react quickly enough. Unfortunately for the president, one of those situations where he'll be criticized no matter which way he moves.
That's right. Moving on, folks, let's talk about the Forbes list of billionaires. Remember, they used to have the 400 richest people in the world, but now they have a billionaires club. So you would want to ask, how many billionaires are there in the world? Well, there are 1,210 billionaires. Did you know?
That's a lot.
Yes. And the number one richest man in the world is the guy with $70 billion. He's Carlos Sims from Mexico.
What does he do?
Oh, he's in the communication business, and just like, in other countries, rich people are like in all businesses. Every business you can lay your hands on. Not like in America, for instance, Bill Gates is number 2 with $56 billion, and everybody knows that is Microsoft, one type of industry. Warren Buffett is now conglomerate. He's number 3 with $50 billion. But the story really is India and China, the BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia. China has 115 billionaires. India has 55. Wow. Hong Kong has 36, and so on and so forth. They give you all the countries up there. India, Lakshmi Mittal,
Now, that's
Number
not surprising.
6 on the list.
That's not surprising. I would expect the Tatas and the Reliances to be there as well.
Ambani's are number
course.
9. Tata's is not on the top 10. You know, he's further down.
Yet.
These are new countries. I mean, America used to be the number 1 country where you will find billionaires. Still is. We have the largest number of billionaires, which is 413.
Wow, but China's really not that far behind. They're in the hundreds.
155. 285 of those 413 made their own luck. First generation billionaires.
Self-made men, wow.
And while 77 of them inherited it. But it's kind of nice to see this new thing that has started is a billionaires club.
Yeah, now it's going to be interesting to see how fast new companies like Facebook,
Yeah.
Whether Mark Zuckerberg
Yeah.
joins the Billionaires Club. I mean, he will be there soon enough. So I think you'll see a new fresh crop of young entrepreneurs who are going to make this list, not just the tycoons of the olden regime, if you will. I mean, there's a lot of steel still there and infrastructure companies that are still there. Microsoft, of course, is an old stalwart, basically, at this point. But I think you're going to start seeing new companies, new ideas, and new industries evolve to become part of the Billionaires Club. Well, speaking of Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, as a matter of fact, guess where they were?
India.
They were in India, and you would not believe what they were doing. They were there to meet with 70 of India's wealthiest people at the Taj Hotel, of course, the one that we all know, for a giving discussion meant to start gently preaching the gospel of philanthropy. In other words, they were trying to convince Indian rich billionaires, 55 of them plus,
They have that roadshow that they took to China also, yes.
Right. But I think this is an important thing to do in India because while India is home to more than 50 billionaires, as you just pointed out, the level of philanthropic giving is far lower than in the developed world. And so there's a real need in places like India where 40% of its 1.2 billion people live below what's defined as the poverty line by the World Bank, which is only $1.25 a day. So
but Warren Buffett was there also for the first time. This was his first visit to India. He was there to also see if he can establish his insurance business there.
Yes, because I think he's a very smart man. He knows that as the middle class grows in India, one of the big things they try to obtain, sometimes as a class status symbol, is a car. I mean, a car is becoming a very important vehicle of transport, plus infrastructure and the road systems in India are improving. So you know that as soon as that middle class becomes rich enough to afford a car, they're going to want to buy one, and insurance is the very next thing that will be the market that picks up.
Not only the car insurance, because, you work hard,